This is the Declaration of Independence. 250 years ago, 56 guys got together and they signed a document, this document, that changed the course of human history. And now it lives at the National Archives, alongside other foundational documents that helped shape our democracy. This declaration gave the world a blueprint for a new kind of nation. So how did this experiment work, and who were the minds behind it? We're on a 3-day adventure to learn more about these historic figures and explore the places they called home. And the first stop is Charlottesville.
I don't want to be distracted, so focus on how you drive.
Charlottesville, let's go. This is not where the Declaration was written, but it is the home of the guy who wrote it, and a place where he imagined a new kind of nation. Welcome to Monticello, the home of Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was a proud Virginian intellectual. He believed in an agrarian culture, he believed that America was going to expand, and he had faith in the future of America.
Jefferson, like Benjamin Franklin, quite early on has a sense of Americans as a people. He talks about an American story, how and why the American story is different.
Writing something that is such a bastion of freedom, he synthesized the ideals of the time in a uniquely American way.
He's taking ideals of liberty and law from all of his reading, French and English Enlightenment philosophy. He's pulling from Mason and other expressions of rights, thinking deeply about what's the threshold that has to be crossed for a kind of revolutionary action. He puts a lot of stock in the idea of liberty and checks on monarchical governments. You know, it's important to remember that the 13 rebellious colonies are overwhelmingly agrarian, north to south. So there is, in Jefferson's mind, a connection between living on your own land with the fruits of your own land and your capacity for independence. Jefferson, by the end of his life, he says, "I knew the past. It was just like the present. There was a whole group of us. We were imperfect. We were united in a cause. A group of quite ordinary people who did extraordinary things when the times and this vision of their country asked them." You know, there's something to me as a historian that's unique about American peoplehood, which is you're not just born into it, you have to reinvigorate it, yes. Wanting people to think of themselves as founders. You know, it's a country that needs continual founding. That's your legacy. What are you going to do with that?
I'm having the greatest time. This is so much fun. I'm having such a good time. Virginia is kind of the greatest accident that happened to early America, right? There was Washington, there was Jefferson, there was Madison, there was Mason. And Mason was this guy who brought all these radical ideas together, and he was 100 years before his time. He wanted to radically change what America could be. And without him, the Founding Fathers really would not have been able to pull everything together into that wonderful document that we call the Declaration. So tomorrow, I'm really excited to go to his house and learn more about him. Good morning. All right, we are leaving Charlottesville and we got a pretty long drive to go to the home of the forgotten founding father, George Mason, the guy who kind of inspired the Declaration and all the ideas. Then we're gonna go to Mount Vernon. And Mount Vernon, the home of the first founding father, George Washington. It kind of just looks like a normal house. Like, it does look like a normal house. It's one story. Wait, look. It's a lot smaller than others. Compared to the other founding fathers, yeah, I kind of do stand corrected. It is pretty big once you get closer to it. I was definitely wrong. It's a big house. It's a big house.
Wow! Wait, this is really cool. Look at the wallpaper.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Whoa.
We're gonna go up this. We'll come back down the big
That
formal
sounds
staircase.
perfect. Let's do that. This is actually really tight. What the heck?
to me is really fascinating because he often wanted to be separated from government. He wanted to be at home. He wanted to be with his family. He wanted very much to be a private citizen. In the moments where it counted, he stood up and made sure that his voice was heard. He was making it very clear when he didn't agree and sharing his reasons and doing it in a way that helped drive that discourse forward and make change possible.
Mason didn't sign the Declaration.
That's right.
Right? But his ideas are everywhere in it.
So George Mason didn't sign the Declaration of Independence because he wasn't in Philadelphia. He was actually down in Williamsburg at that point, writing a Virginia Constitution. He had, in May, arrived in Williamsburg at the 5th Virginia Convention, got himself assigned to a committee to write a Declaration of Rights for Virginia. Got very fed up very fast. He said to his son in a letter, the committee is overcharged with useless members, and took himself down the street, we think potentially to Raleigh Tavern, and wrote the whole thing by himself.
Whoa, that's incredible.
And on June 12th, 1776, the Virginia Declaration of Rights was ratified and became law. What's really cool is a draft of that declaration was in the newspaper in Philadelphia when Thomas Jefferson was writing the Declaration of Independence.
What is his view on like the hope for future generations of Americans? Because he didn't sign the Constitution because it wasn't his view complete, right?
He said that he wanted to leave his sons but a crust of bread and liberty.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So financial security and freedom. And I think he was incredibly concerned with the Constitution that it was not protective enough. I do think that he would tell us that it is our job to continue to fight in order to form a more perfect union. The work is never done.
Yes.
And therefore we need to continue to engage and continue to participate.
Mason's unique ability to synthesize information and fervor into a document like the Virginia Declaration of Rights changed the course of history. In the course of human history, 250 years is kind of nothing. Our style of government that is based on ideas and based on the ability to keep changing and keep improving, that is because of the men like Jefferson, like Mason, and we'll come to see like Washington. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is where people who were like visiting him would have come up the way and they would have been able to see these sweeping lawns and the trees framing the house as they're riding their horses up to go meet the guy. What the heck? We've been to the home of the writer, we've been to the home of the guy who inspired it, and now we're at the home of the guy who made it all possible. Welcome to Mount Vernon. Look at that green. What the heck? I kind of like it. Washington was not a philosopher, right? And he was not a writer of the Declaration, but he was kind of the executor-in-chief a little bit, right? So how should we understand his role in making the Declaration a possibility?
So Washington had actually been a pretty early and ardent patriot, and we can see the steps that he takes along the way to become convinced that independence is going to be required. When the battles of Lexington and Concord occurred, we now officially have a war. And that summer, when the Continental Congress gathered, they created a Continental Army. And so Washington was, of course, the commander-in-chief. He was perhaps among the most experienced of natural-born Americans. He looked the part of a leader. He came in military uniform in case they needed a reminder. And critically, he was from the biggest and wealthiest state in the South, Virginia. So again, this was a national project. But then what comes after is, I think, really important, because you can declare independence, but that's just a piece of paper if you don't actually live it. And so Washington is, of course, living it by winning the war. We are the only nation in the world founded on an idea, and that is a really hard thing to do. Republics in particular are fragile because they depend on every generation of citizens committing to uphold it for the next generation. He would, I think, want future generations to say, what can we do to make it more perfect?
Yeah.
Not a perfect union. We're never going to be perfect. We should not be looking for perfect people. We should look for flawed humans who are willing to try and do the next best thing. And so that is the founding legacy, and to me that's a much more interesting and a much more useful legacy.
So it was really cool seeing the home of the guy who's responsible for everything happening. And tomorrow I'm excited to finally see where it was all hashed out. Let's go. I'm so excited. Declaration, the place it was signed. What else do you need? That's so cool. It still works. That is actually the second bell that has been there, because the first one is the Liberty Bell, which is right there. The guys who signed this document, they all sat in this room together, coming together and talking about something that they couldn't even fully agree on or articulate, but it was something that guided us to the moral identity and aspiring ideals that we still hold today. The founding ideals of our nation, liberty, justice for all, and the idea of individual rights, saying this is what we aspire to be, a light of liberty to the rest of the world and to future generations. That is our national inheritance.
We all can get distracted when we drive.
But what matters is how we handle it.
Whether we put our phones on Do Not Disturb or pass it to my co-pilot. You ready for the road trip?
Yeah!
And so before your next road trip, be sure to focus on the way you drive.